This
That it's
conference will now be
gonna record.
recorded.
Yes. So if you want to receive the recording of the webinar, please let me know by email, and I can send it to you. Or if you need it for maybe your colleagues or other partners, I'm happy to send it to you. Well, I hope that everything, or at least most of it, is clear, because yeah, we're going to start with the webinar. Well, my name is Harm, and I'm working for Travel Media Benelux. We believe that it should be easy for organizations like you to work with a creative, reliable, and transparent partner in a foraging country. So that's why we already represent our carefully selected DMCs from all over the world now for more than 10 years. So yeah, and it's our goal. I think it's the same goal as you have, is to increase the number of successful foraging projects. And that's why we started Travel Media 10 years ago. And obviously, the J team is already a very long time with us as a trustful partner in Japan for all the foraging projects. Yeah, obviously, at the moment there are not that many requests. We have all the same problems due to Corona, which there is more time for some site developments, which we developed. Yeah, because yeah, we try to be creative as possible, and brainstormed and checked what we could do as Travel Media to still be helpful for our network. And that's why we first organized webinars for our partner, and we developed online pitch training for your team. And I will show you in a split screen what it exactly is. 1 second. Did it? Yeah, so we developed pitch training for your team, and that's because we believe there's more time for personal development now. We created together with David Beckett, I call him the pitch guru from the world. You can see him here. I have his LinkedIn page open. He's a pitch coach, online presentation trainer, TEDx speaker, and together with him, we created 3 tailored programs to the MICE and travel industry, and with actually one goal, and that is yeah, to increase sales eventually, to develop your pitching skills. So yeah, that's one of the developments which we are working on at the moment, and it's going pretty well. And another element are corporate gifts, which you can find on our website. We are at the moment we are presenting gifts to our network for key accounts, for staff, for everything you can imagine. We have all kinds of gifts at the moment. We have more than 4,000 gifts. Started from €2 to Mont Blanc suitcases from more euros, and everything is possible to personalize. So yeah, those are 2 developments which we are working on the latest months to still be there for our clients, and obviously the webinars. So now I will go through the agenda with you before I will introduce you to James and his team. So yeah, the first thing was the introduction of Travel Media and me. You already had that one. I will introduce you to James and his J team, followed by their introduction. The third topic we are going to discuss about is the situation in Japan, and why, how, what after the situation at the moment. The fourth topic will be a presentation of the J team about the destinations about the venues, about what they want to share with you. And we will end the webinar with a Q&A. You can ask the questions in the chat function if you have any questions, and we will come back to you to answer your question as good as possible. And when there are more questions, you can always schedule a call with James or with me, or ask your question by email, and we come back to you. I hope that everything is clear for you guys, because the moment is here. I'm gonna introduce you to our trustful partner in Japan, James from the JT. Good afternoon, James.
Good morning.
How are you doing,
everybody? Very well,
yeah,
thank you. It's good to see so many names I recognize.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Nice.
So,
okay. So could you please introduce yourself to
yes.
to our colleagues who doesn't know you yet?
Okay. So I'm trying now to share a screen. I hope you can see it. Very briefly, the J Team is a Japan DMC, but we are not just a corporate logo. We are actually real people. So I've actually got 4 colleagues in the call in the webinar today. So just to introduce you a little bit to the people who you'll actually be working with when you do an event in Japan. So I would like to introduce them one by one. And I'm first of all going to call on my colleague Mai and ask her if she will tell us what it is that she loves most about Japan.
Hi, thank you very much for today. I'm Mai from Chiba. I like Japan because Japan has beautiful 4 seasons, and each season we have something to celebrate in nature, and we eat seasonal food by season as well. So I also like our religion, Shinto, that we believe there are many gods in our nature resources, such as river, a mountain, even for the sun for today. This is how I like Japan. Thank you, James.
Thank you, very interesting. And moving swiftly on to Akiko, please can you say hello and also tell us what you love about Japan?
Hey, thank you very much, James. So hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Akiko. Well, I'm based in Tokyo, but actually, I'm evacuating from Tokyo at the moment to my mother's house in the countryside. But anyway, Japan is a very long island from the north to south. And so the climate and the characteristics are completely different depending on the places. So there are so many different local events, activities, or local specialties, and I always feel excited to discover them. So that's what I like about Japan. Thank you.
So local specialities at any time of the year, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, excellent, thank you. And next I would like to bring in Mayo. Mayo, can you tell us what you love about Japan as well?
Hey everyone, I'm Mayo. Thank you for inviting today. My favorite thing about in Japan is that public transport is very convenient compared to other countries. So you can go to many places to hang out easily. I also like Japan, like Japanese are not really serious about religious way of thinking. So that is why we enjoy Christmas, Easter, and very crazy in Halloween season. Thank you.
So very open-minded. And yes, I'd like to see you crazy sometime. And finally, Diantha, please tell us where you're from, how long you've lived in Japan, and why you love it.
Oh, goedemorgen. My name is Diantha. I'm actually from the Netherlands. I've been living in Japan for 4 years now, and my absolute favorite thing about Japan is that daily life things in general work slightly different from most countries and can be very fascinating if you've never seen it before. One other thing that I absolutely love is that Japan has so many restaurants. Literally every corner has a restaurant, and it's a food paradise to me. Very hard to find food that does not taste good. Thank you.
Thank you. So you like to eat your way around Japan. So just to quickly show everybody, we're actually all working from home still at the moment in lockdown. So Akiko is up there in Ibaraki, Mai in Chiba, Dianta in Tokyo, Maya in Kawasaki, all around the Tokyo area, and I am in the other end of the country in Kyoto. So I'm James. I've lived here for 23 years, and I think the one thing that's kept me here so long and my love for Japan is that it's just so Japanese, which is a really easy thing to say, but it is actually very, very different, especially coming from Europe. So we hope that later on in this webinar we'll be able to show you a little bit about that and why we love it. So I'm handing back over to you, Harm.
Thank you, James. That was an amazing introduction. Thank you to the whole team. Really nice to hear and see. Yeah, what is it? Why you are in Japan and what you love about Japan. It's really nice to see. Yes, I would like to move on to the current situation actually. Yeah, could you maybe explain a little bit how the situation due to Corona is at the moment in Japan?
Yes, most certainly. So we're experiencing very similar to many parts of the world where we're encouraged to work from home. We've seen basically nothing in terms of MICE events since February. That's because venues are closed, hotels are closed. Most importantly, borders are closed. So even if you wanted to hold an international event here, you can't come in. But we're now looking at monitoring the situation daily. It looks like our lockdown will actually finish at the end of May, the 31st of May. And that means that domestic events, Japanese events, will start to be able to take place again. And the industry can then gear up for when the world can come back in again.
Okay. And with an eye on the travel and MICE industry, why do you believe that organizations will organize MICE related trips in the future? Do you think their perception or the goal of the trip will be different than before?
I'm just as a human being, I'm feeling that people want to travel, people need to travel, people need to meet other people. So looking at the incentive part of the MICE industry, we're now looking at flights, airlines cutting their back on their flights, and so a long-haul destination like Japan is going to be very, very difficult in the short term for people from Europe. So I think companies can actually really explain the value of their reward by organizing something this far away from Europe. In terms of the E part, the trade shows and the events part of our business, our industry, I was talking with a industry friend last week, and he said, people need to meet, people want to kick the tires, they want to see real things, they want to get together. So I think once there is a vaccine and once there are ways to navigate our way through the COVID-19 world, people will need to get back to events again.
Okay, thank you, James. And at the moment, do you already received some requests, or do you already going to execute a trip this year, and how you gonna respond to it?
Right. So yes, I mean, the elephant in the room is Tokyo 2020 Olympics, which has really been a big defining moment for everybody who's thinking about Japan. So we lost our spring, we've lost our summer, and now there's questions about autumn. We still do have events in autumn, and I'd just like to show this two more slides to you now. As a responsible DMC, one of our key services, one of our key duties is to ensure the health, safety and enjoyment of every single guest that's on a program that we work on. We're now as a team currently writing our policy and our advice for what happens when the borders open. And we will be publishing that. It's not down on paper yet, but as soon as it is, I will share it. We're talking about how many people do you put on it? Is it safe to have on one coach, spacing between in restaurants, check-in procedures in hotels, number of guys per people, etc. You can see on the the right-hand side of the slide I'm showing, we've put masks on our logos. In Japan here, the mask is an essential part of Japanese culture, and I truly believe that masks, gloves, disinfectant sprays are going to be a feature of events in Japan, in our industry for the time being. I've also noted on the slide in front of you that we the J team, produce a Japan situation report. Currently it's about twice a week that we write it because things have not changed rapidly. We've just written one today. I'm very, very happy to share that with you to distribute with everybody after this webinar, if that's of any use. But I'd also just like to point out this slide as well. So we actually, as a company, as a country, we deal with crises pretty much every day of our working lives. Here in Japan, it's no secret that we have many earthquakes. As well as earthquakes, we have typhoons, depending on the season. So we actually have an ongoing crisis management plan that uses the fact that we have an office in 2 different cities. We do plan to have 2 more offices in 2 more different cities in the very near future, so that we have our staff, our team is split geographically, because these types of disasters, these types of challenges tend to not happen. They tend to happen in one place, and other places can operate. COVID is new to us, to be honest, and it's helped us, renew our policies and our communications. So it's very important going forward from this day onwards to improve our communications on what we are doing, what Japan is doing to make it a safe environment for meetings, incentives, conferences, and other events.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, James. Very clear. Before we move on to the destinations and everything you want to share with our colleagues in this webinar, is there anyone who has a question regarding this topic already? You can ask it in the chat function if you would like. Yes, I see a question from Piotr. He's asking, how is life in Japan now?
How is life in Japan? Honestly, and this is slightly embarrassing, life is Japan is at a very low level of lockdown compared with Italy, France, USA, Britain, and it's quite normal, to be honest. I mean, people are out on the streets. Companies like ours are working from home, but we see lots and lots of commuters. We see lots of people shopping. People are generally taking more care than they would, but I wouldn't say that we've had our freedoms particularly curtailed by this. I see another question from Niels. Any estimation when international travel to Japan or Asia in general will open again? My honest answer is I don't know. The Japanese borders are closed until the 31st of May. I suspect that will be extended for another 2 weeks or a month, and then we'll start to see the borders opening over the summer. The Japanese government is very, very, very keen to get the economy going, or not to damage the economy anymore. So I think Japan specifically, by June or July, I think we'll see borders opening and flights being allowed in.
Okay, great. Thanks, James.
Okay.
See another question from Mariana. What is the J Team's USP? What makes you stand out from other DMCs?
Okay. I believe it's the fact that we're a group of people, not just the corporate logo. And we are a group, we are 60%, sorry, we're 60% Japanese and 40% non-Japanese. So we have 3 Brits, Dianta from Netherlands, American, Belgian actually, and all of our Japanese colleagues have lived somewhere outside Japan. So what we do is we see Japan from the outside, from your client, your guest point of view, but we also have the connections inside to be able to make those Japanese dreams, those Japanese ideals come true.
Okay.
We also never, ever back down from a challenge. And if you think of something that may be almost impossible, we would like to prove you wrong, make it work.
Nice. Okay, it's really nice to hear that that it's such an international team, Dutch, Belgium, from the States, and 60% Japanese. So you can really understand the Western needs and wishes, and you can execute it in a culture like Japan.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I would like to move on to to the destinations. Obviously,
right.
Our colleagues are also here to hear and see what you can offer them in Japan, and maybe some destination education. So I would say show them what you want to share.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to bring in my colleagues again at every opportunity, but first of all, what I'd like to show you is this next slide, which I think is loading for everybody. When it comes up, this is a screen that is our ideal. There it is, finally. This is our ideal travel incentive for 5 nights in Japan, coming in from Europe. Now, it's very, very overly loaded in terms of, we want to show you the best things. We're not going to make you sit through every single line of this, because it would put you to sleep and you would miss Planet IMEX, and you would probably miss dinner later today. However, this is just a small segment of what we think is the absolute creme de la creme, the best of Japan. If you would like to take a screenshot of this, I will be referring to this for the next 10 or 15 minutes. So instead of telling you absolutely everything that's in here, we're going to take a few elements that are our favorites within the favorites, and those are the blue highlighted words in the grid, and each of us is going to talk about it a little bit, a little bit the passion that we have. So just to let you know, we've based it on a KLM flight, the fact that KLM flies into both Tokyo and Osaka. So this particular incentive that we've drawn up for you, it arrives into Tokyo Narita Airport, very close to where Mai is sitting right now. And then it departs from Kansai International Airport in Osaka. And we're going to stay in Tokyo for 3 nights and Kyoto for 2 nights and take an advantage of this wonderful bullet train between the 2 cities. We now start, we have arrived in Narita International Airport in the morning with your KLM flight. And we're going to take you by private coach straight into the historical heart of Tokyo, which is called Asakusa. And we're not just going to show you the sights, we're going to show you the sights by rickshaw. And I'm going to hand over to Mayo, my colleague, to talk a little bit about the rickshaw. Mayo-san.
Yep.
So I think you're talking, but I can't hear you.
Yep, so about the rickshaw. So please, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So please, everyone, let's fit. Young woman or man whisk you around the city as you relax and enjoy the view. It is a great way to hit the street and add a little extra dynamism to experience the historic Tokyo. And me, myself, also go on this rickshaw ride before and saw a city in different angle. And this which made me feel like a princess riding a horse carriage. Thank you.
Mayo-san, did you have a prince to accompany you when you took that ride? Did you have a prince to accompany you on your rickshaw ride?
No. But
no,
my previous tour.
Oh, right. Okay.
In my previous tour, like when I handled the tour, I had, but for myself, I didn't.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. So the rickshaws they're hand drawn, and they're very, very exciting if you have couples tours because they're quite romantic. Not so good if you've got a group of 20 men or something like that. So we're going to skip through the program to the end of the day, and towards the end of the day, on your arrival day, having a long flight, you tend to find people getting a little jet lagged, a little woozy in the evening. So we've come up with a way to make sure that everybody is really awake for nighttime. And it is, again, I'm going to hand over to Mayo to explain this one.
And about the rabbit show, like there comes a point in every adventure in Japan where like preconceived ideas and stereotypes are blown apart. If you have not yet experienced that moment, you will experience in here. The intensity of oral and visual stimulation and the depth of the script could well blow your mind.
Thank you, Mayo. And how many times have you seen this show, by the way?
About, in total 5 times, maybe.
Right. And is it deafening every single time?
Yes, it's such a big surprise.
It's
really another side of Tokyo.
Takes you to a different world, doesn't it?
Yes, it's completely a different world.
Okay. I'm looking at my screen and I see the screen is taking some time to change over. So I'm going to try and talk a bit over. So what we're doing is we're skipping through the dinner for that day, and we're going to now go straight into day 2, where we continue the theme of from the robot show of quirky, boisterous, colorful Tokyo. And instead of taking you around Tokyo on a coach or on a car, you're actually going to drive yourself around Tokyo on a Mario Kart. And I'm going to hand back to Mayo to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, about the Mario Kart. So everyone remember that famous kart racing video game? I think you have. And well, now it is time for you to get behind the wheel and test those skills that you honed so many years ago, but in real life. Mario Kart is a must of those that enjoy driving or the quicker side of Japan.
And that green person in the front there is me, who enjoys driving, but I find it a little bit underpowered, to be honest, but don't tell anybody. Thank you, Maya-san. So, and after all of your driving, you're going to be getting hungry. So we're going to take you back through the mists of time in Tokyo to this one global food that was actually invented in Tokyo. And I'm going to hand over now to Mai-san to tell us all about sushi.
Thank you, James. Sushi is probably the most famous Japanese food in the world. Now it is your turn to try to learn how to make sushi rice with vinegar, how to mold the rice, and cut a slice of fish from a whole fish, instructed by professional sushi chefs. That is also going to be your own lunch for the day. You will learn the techniques and recipes you can take your home. We can also take you to one of the largest fish markets in Japan to try out spiky black seafood creature, sea urchin, as an option as well. Thank you.
I'll say that with the microphone on. Marcel, so let us into a little secret. Do you make sushi at home? Is that something that Japanese people do at home, or do you only go out to eat sushi? Do you have to be a professional chef?
We eat sushi at home as well. We buy a pack of sliced fresh fish from a supermarket, and we prepare steamed rice with vinegar at home and put them on our dining tables. And then we also prepare a square black seaweed paper and put them in our hand and put the rice on it, and then pick up your own favorite sashimi from the table and put it, and we hand roll them and we eat it, and this is how we enjoy sushi at home. We do enjoy sushi at home as well. Yeah.
So all of the skills that we learn on the lunchtime making sushi today on this program, we can actually take back home and show off to our friends and family, right?
Yes, and you can probably be better than Japanese making sushi at home. We even Japanese don't have many chance to learn how to actually make a proper molding and sushi rice. So.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. Thank you very much. And we're going to rush through the rest of the day and actually head straight into the next day, where we're going into old Tokyo, and we're going to look at the art and the craft of bonsai, which is a lot more exciting than it sounds on paper. And I'm going to ask Mai-san again to tell us a little bit more about bonsai.
Yes. Okay. Visit a bonsai garden for a lecture on the art of bonsai, combined with the opportunity to cut and create your own bonsai based on the techniques explained on the day. The host is going to be our own Mr. Miyagi, who has over 30 years experience making bonsai. And he owns one of the finest private collection of bonsai garden in Japan, whose oldest tree is actually now 800 years old. Mr. Miyagi will also tell you the philosophy of bonsai and let you think about how you want to put your sense of art and make your given bonsai beautiful. You will be also welcome to his house to see how he displays his bonsai at home. This garden is quite an oasis located suburb Tokyo, which despite the inflation of skyscrapers and high-rise buildings you will see in central Tokyo, you will find another side of Japan.
Just want to ask you a quick question. Thank you. You said his oldest tree is 800 years old. Yeah?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you know that?
I heard that.
You know that?
Yeah. When we see the trees, and he count the, what do you call in English, the lines of the trees.
The rings. Yes.
The rings, yeah. And then he can count how many years old the bonsai is. It cannot be exactly appropriate, but it should be more than 800 years old.
Wow, okay. All right, that's really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, my son. Thank you for all the questions that are coming in. We will get back to those in a few minutes. And in the afternoon after bonsai, we get to what is really the key part of this program in Tokyo. It's a very, very rare opportunity to go and see one of the sumo tournaments. And we actually have a not so secret sumo expert, sumo fan in our midst. So I'm going to bring in Akiko now and ask her to talk as briefly as she can about her favorite Japanese art. Is it an art? Is it a martial art? Is it a sport? Akiko, over to you about sumo.
Thank you, James. While one of the strongest cultural image of Japan is sumo, and it is also one of the most difficult to actually witness, as only 6 tournaments a year take place across the country. I thoroughly recommend that you time your Japan program to take in one of the tournaments. And I'm more than happy to take you along and tell you all about my love of sumo.
So Akiko, who's your favorite wrestler at the moment?
Well, at the moment is, my favorite sumo wrestler at the moment is called Enho. Well, he's actually very physically, he's very small. I think he's the smallest wrestler at the moment. Sumo, but sumo is not just a power game, and he's actually quite skillful, and he can use a lot of different techniques to defeat the opponents. And it's a very, it's quite often he defeats the bigger and the stronger ones. And so it feels very good to see the big ones just got rolled on the ring by this small wrestler.
I see. That sounds excellent. And we will definitely get you to take people to sumo as soon as they come to Tokyo or any of the other 5 destinations that they have their tournaments. Thank you very much. And now I'm conscious of time, so moving very quickly onwards on the very quick bullet train towards Kyoto, and I would like to bring Dianta in at this point to tell us a little bit about her love of the Shinkansen.
Yes, thank you, James. So the Shinkansen bullet train is world famous, and we really recommend to make it part of your Japan experience. Experiencing the bullet train for the first time especially is exciting. You will be amazed by its punctuality, its speed, and its Japanese touch. If you're lucky, you may even catch a glimpse of Mount Fuji. Did you know that the average delay in 2017 was a mere 24 seconds? That is just 24 seconds over 365 departures, carrying 452,000 passengers per day.
I'm just going to question you on that again, Dianta. 24 seconds over 365 departures per day, and that's 450,000 passengers every single day using the bullet train. Is that right?
That is correct.
Wow. Of course, not this week, but normally. Thank you very much. So when you get off the bullet train, you're going to arrive in Kyoto, which has been my home for the last 16, nearly 17 years. And I will bore you and tell you it's the best place in Japan. But I'd like to focus on something that is kind of cool and kind of global, which is Zen meditation. And we actually work with a friend of ours who's a Buddhist priest, a Zen priest, who speaks very, very, very good English. And he will invite you to his temple and help you get into the Kyoto or into the Japanese mindset through meditation. Tells you all about it, why does it, the Buddhist priests, the Zen priests use it, what they use it for. And also give some tips and hints about how you can build it into your business life or into your daily life. And once you've been through that, you're totally and utterly then focused on the last few hours, the last couple of days in Kyoto. And the next day, we're actually going to take you to become a samurai, and I'm going to ask Diantha to give us a little bit of background on that.
Yes, so the samurai is another icon of Japan who is not well understood. This is 3 workshops. So one is the mechanics of samurai swordsmanship. The second is the spirit of Odai, the way of the warrior. And the third is a true treat. This is the opportunity to hold a 300-year-old antique sword and actually cut with it, as you can see on the picture. So when Japan comes to mind, many foreigners will undoubtedly think of samurai. Whether your group is in Japan in a formal setting or an informal setting, implementing the samurai workshop in a group schedule guarantees definitely a fun time with friends, colleagues, while experiencing a unique part of Japanese history. So get challenged by samurai warriors and make sure to be the last one standing.
Thank you, Diantha. And those antique swords, those real antique swords, are really quite impressive. They're about 2 or 3 kilograms in weight, and they're really quite an exciting weapon to hold. And moving briefly on towards the second part of our program, in Kyoto, I'm going to bring Akiko back in again for her second favorite Japanese culture, which is taiko drumming.
Thank you. Yes, everyone deserves a good beating while in Japan. This is your chance to learn some of the traditional techniques of the taiko drumming style. Well, historically, taiko drums were a communication device. Samurai in their castles or outposts would use them to signal to each other. The sound of the largest drums can travel up to 4 kilometers. In the mid-20th century, they were reimagined as a form of entertainment. And in the 21st century, many people, me included, use the taiko drumming as an excellent form of exercise. So it is very refreshing when you feel this drum beat and the vibration in your body, and it helps you release your stress. And finally, you will have a muscle ache in your arms, legs, and hips. It's a very good exercise.
So, Akiko, how many times a week do you practice taiko drumming?
Actually, I practice twice a month.
Twice a month?
But I would like twice a month, but I love to practice more. Well, I wish.
And right now, around the world, everybody's putting out videos of how to keep fit during lockdown. Is it something you can do in your home during lockdown?
Yeah, well, yes, I think so. Well, actually, the class, the taiko class actually will start the online class this week.
Oh, really?
So,
oh, brilliant.
Yes, so I
you just
think
have
I
to
will participate. Yeah.
you have to have understanding neighbors, I guess. All right, thank you very much. And throughout the program that we've been discussing here today, we've completely ignored the food and the cuisine and the hotels and all sorts of other things. But now on your last night in Kyoto, we're going to take a tiny look at the food because Japanese cuisine is so famous and so popular the world over. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite you to dinner at a ryote, which is a very classic Japanese restaurant. It's the one where you get about 12, 14 different courses in one meal. Now each course is absolutely tiny. So what you've got on the slide in front of you is actually about eight different courses, and so you wouldn't feel ill after all of this. You would feel very refreshed. They tend to take place in these historic buildings, of which Kyoto has in an absolute abundance. But your hosts for the evening, when the slide loads, will be geisha. And here in Kyoto, the geisha herself is called Geiko. And she is the more senior, the more experienced, qualified entertainer. And she's accompanied in the slide that you've just got on your screens now. She's the one on the right of the screen, and then the one in the middle and on the left are the maiko, the apprentice. Now these, very much a mystery. What are they really? What kind of services do they provide? Well, they are professional entertainers. They're highly trained in the tea ceremony, in shamisen instrument. They're also very, very good at drinking games. And so after your guests have had 1 or 2 beers and they want to get into the sake, these ladies are very happy to play drinking games with them. But believe me, they will not win. Your guests will not win. The maiko, the geisha, will come out on top. And actually that brings us to the end of the tour that we want to highlight, that we've showed you. And I'm now very happy to hand over the floor to Harm, and perhaps we can look at the questions that you've very kindly sent in. But I just wanted to skip to one last slide and acknowledge the fact that it is IMEX week this week, and I'm assuming that many people joining us today are actually heading off to Planet IMEX in the next 10 minutes. So we're very happy to keep very strict time. And 8 of my colleagues, myself and 7 of my colleagues, are actually going to be taking part in the IMEX Still Running on Wednesday this week. So I hope to see lots of people out there taking part in that. And I will thank you at this point very much for your attention for the last 20 minutes or so. Thank you very much. And I'm going to look at the questions. So I'm going to go to the top and look at the questions. Caitlin, I love Mario Kart activity. Thank you very much. So do I. Caitlin, is sushi something you would eat for dinner rather as a snack? Mai-san, are you able to answer that question? Is sushi something you would eat for dinner or just as a snack?
Yes, we eat sushi more as a proper lunch or dinner meal. So when we celebrate something, it's always a family talk about beef steak or sushi. And so sushi is something special and proper filling meal for Japanese.
I would agree with that as well, Mai-san. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Next question. Is the bonsai cutting lesson also possible for private sessions? I can very quickly answer that and say yes, we would only ever organize it as private. We showed you a picture today for quite a large group at the garden. We've also organized it at a different venue. We've taken it offsite to the hotel. We've taken it to a party venues, dinner venues. It's very, very flexible. The cutting is very, very interesting. Actually, it's an incredible art form. And we can also, if your group is small enough, actually organize dinner at the bonsai garden, which is rather special. Next question. Is the Mario Kart still safe due to the busy traffic? We had a group in Japan last year, but DMC told us they will not offer Mario Kart anymore because there's a lot of accidents. That's a really, really, really pertinent question, very interesting question to ask, because it depends on, there are 2 or 3 different operators, and it depends a bit on the operator, and it depends on the size of the group. Now, what you do is it's safety in numbers. So you have a group of about 10 carts so that they become visible to the other traffic. Just 1 or 2 carts, I think, is probably quite vulnerable because you're just so small. Is one thing. The other advice I would give is choose your routes. So we work with one of the operators which is happy to bring the carts to less busy parts, even privatize an entire car park or entire circuit or something like that. So there are different levels of safety and different things that you can do to ensure the safety. In my experience, I was very surprised because we have had insurance companies that do this, and I always just thought that insurance companies were very, very risk averse. But we would go through with you the proper, very detailed description of what the risks are. We've also made sure that we do a very, very thorough description and briefing on what the rules of the road are in Japan. I hope that I didn't speak too much on that one. I'm going to go on to the next question. Japan has introduced some visa requirements for the time of coronavirus. Do you know info about the restrictions for EU citizens? I do. Right now, at this point in time, it is pretty much impossible to travel to Japan on a European passport. Basically, all of the visa waiver programs have been completely scrapped, and now you would have to apply for a visa to come to Japan. And that's where the detail comes in, which is there is the strong assumption that every single visa, or the majority of visa applications, would be rejected or refused at this point in time. So we are now very much hoping that the border controls will be eased as the lockdown situation is eased in Japan. So we're hoping that June or July we will see borders opening for EU and, well, all countries, to be honest, so that the visa exemptions will be back in place as normal. We expect, as in any country though, that there will be still the potential for quarantine rules and still the potential for a lot of testing and checks at the airport, and we honestly don't know what that will be, and we're very keen to know the answer as well. And I think I have got to the bottom of the list of questions, and I'm happy to answer more, or I'm happy to hand back to Harm.
Well, I also have one question. I see Miriam and James keep us posted about the situation.
I will do. Thank you.
My question is, I'm really curious about what are the main questions from the group who will come first to Japan to you. So a group which is confirmed. Yeah. So what are the main questions they ask you?
We get many. It depends on the country, to be honest. So we get a lot of questions like, will there be anything to eat apart from sushi? Well, the answer to that question is that Japan has a humongous breadth in its cuisine, and actually the Japanese love food. They live to eat, absolutely, totally, utterly live to eat. So they will, they import the ideas from all around the world. So Italian and French and Indian and American, and it's just Japanese love food. So there is so much variety. And I'm desperately trying to scroll up through my slides here to show you some samples of that. So, and then there are things like, I hope this one will come up, but the Japanese Wagyu beef, which is now becoming more and more famous and more sought after worldwide. And the ramen noodles, and if I can get to it without spending too much time, the okonomiyaki, and just so many different things. And Japanese, another one I'm going to pick on because I'm assuming we may have some Belgian guests on the webinar, is the Japanese beer as well, is generally very well received. So food is one question. The other question would be, you know, do I have to take my shoes off everywhere all of the time? Maybe. It depends on the program, but yes, there are still lots of occasions where you absolutely have to take your shoes off, and there is no way around that. We also there are always questions about the language, and will I be able to understand what's going on? In terms of, with an incentive, of course, you're looked after most of the time, and you would be in private transport over the time, most of the time, so you wouldn't necessarily be navigating your way around. But hotel concierges, everybody speaks English. I think Mayo-san right at the beginning mentioned the convenience of the public transport system, and honestly, in the last 10 years, it's become much more user-friendly. In terms of signage in not just English and Romanized letters, but in other languages such as Korean and Chinese as well. So and the Japanese are friendly. They will always help. They will always help. So I think those are perhaps the main questions. Will I be able to eat the food? Will I be able to understand? I keep moving on. Will I be able to understand what's going on? And what would the dress code be? Because Japan is still very much more formal level of dress than Europe and the US, for example.
Okay, thank you for sharing, James. I see one other question from Ilona.
Oh, okay, I will open that up. Can we European eat all the food, or do we have to be careful in other countries? I think so. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's like, for example, the water. I think the tap water is very safe to drink here. There are things that are uncooked. Mai-san was talking about some of the fish and some of the seafood, and that is partly down to personal preference and partly down to safety, possible safety mitigation, that maybe we would avoid that. We always work very carefully on the menus with you, and of course we're able to tailor menus for individual dietary needs, dietary preferences as well. Something that was a very big topic of conversation, say about 5 years ago, was halal and halal friendly, but that's become much more the norm and much more variety and part of the fare at the moment now here in Japan.
Okay, great. I think we should, if there are more questions, we should handle them by phone or by email. So we can end this webinar, so everybody who wants to participate can join the IMEX webinar.
Okay.
I would like to thank everybody who joined the webinar with us and the J team awesome that you made some time for us, so we could share everything what we wanted to share. I hope it was valuable for you. And please note, guys, very important, Wednesday the 13th of May, I will be live again with Björk from Boutique DMC. Some of you probably already know her because they're also an amazing partner from us in Iceland. So the webinar will start at 11 a.m., 11 in the morning, and I will send you the registration link later on today. So 13th of May is Wednesday. I will be live again with Björk from Boutique DMC Iceland. It will start at 11. I would like to thank James and his team for sharing everything. I think it was an amazing webinar. Very nice that you had the proactive team and the slides ready like this. I think it was really helpful and valuable for us. Thanks a lot, James.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, for each person's time and spending it with us today. Thank you.
Okay, great. So if there are any questions, please let us know by email or we schedule a phone call. Please let us know. Stay tuned and enjoy our day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.